Mr. McKinney, can I ask you a few questions about the case?
Okay, you.
Mr. McKinney, is it true that you are the chief lawyer for Plessy?
Yes, and if you're going to be asking all these questions in the crowd, you better ask me some good damn questions. Okay, you. Don't be a fool.
Thank you, sir. Could you tell me what the decision was of the court?
Well, despite my efforts, the Supreme Court ruled that segregation is not in conflict with our Constitution or its 13th or 14th Amendments. They said segregation is not discrimination. It is separate but equal.
So what does this mean for our country?
Our federal government cannot stop its states from enacting laws to segregate people of color because they have deemed it not to be a violation of constitutional rights and just a way to legally differentiate blacks and whites. This will cause further hostility and racism in our country.
The Plessy versus Ferguson case. I've got to get this article done. This could be my big break. If I do well, then they might start letting me write about the real news, like the lynchings and whatnot. Okay, I guess I will start with the Plessy versus Ferguson case, May 18th, 1896. The case that has caught the entire country's attention all started when Homer Plessy refused to sit in the designated colored car on the train. Though he is 7/8 white and only 1/8 black, he was still arrested. His actions in 1892 broke the Separate Car Act in Louisiana, but led him all the way to the Supreme Court to decide whether the legal segregation through Jim Crow laws was constitutional. The courts inevitably decided that
Harper's Weekly, where is that imbecile? Weekly, where's that article that you're supposed to be working on?
it's right here, sir. I'm almost done.
We've got deadlines. I don't care. Just give me that. I have something else for you anyways. I need you to cover the details of the Jim Crow laws and the colored man's life.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. I knew that this Plessy case would really open up doors for me, even though it didn't open any doors for the African Americans.
Ha! I don't like you. I'm giving you this piece because no one else wants to do it.
What? Why?
What? Why? You really are an idiot. No one wants to do it because you're gonna have to go out to the slums and talk to the colored folk.
If the other boys at the paper are too afraid to do what needs to be done to bring the truth to light, I've just got to do it. Hey there, could I ask you a few questions?
Yes, ma'am. I don't want any trouble.
No trouble here, boy. I just want to ask you about how the Jim Crow laws are treating you.
Ma'am, everywhere you look, there's no way to forget or deny the difference between black and white. Our bathrooms, our drinking fountains, any place at all, really. And when they added the 15th Amendment, we were all excited. But then, here in the South, they started making us take literacy tests in order to vote. It's not fair, ma'am. Most of us can't get an education, but we can't control that. That shouldn't stop us from getting the right to vote. Sometimes I wish me and my family could move to the North. I think it's easier there. One of my friends even told me that black and whites can serve on a jury together. It seems too good to be true, ma'am.
When did your hope go away, boy?
In the year 1883.
And go.
Clearly the government has not treated you well, but how about the other white people?
They blame us for their financial problems. They think we're taking their jobs just because they ain't used to having even the smallest chance in the workforce. Their resentment is what started the lynchings, ma'am.
Tell me more about those.
No, I can show you. Come with me.
Why are there so many people here?
Don't you see? They're all here to watch the lynchings of Laura Nelson and her 14-year-old son.
How could these people be watching such a terrible thing?
They're proud of it. Some even pose for pictures and share them in order to spread the fear. Lynchings, mobs, and torture are used to give an example for all of us black folk. We can't do anything out of fear or death. Even the smallest act can get us killed, but that doesn't stop them. Sometimes they will accuse us of things we didn't do, like rape, and we don't get any chance to defend ourselves.
And the police don't stop it?
No, sometimes they're the ones doing it. There's no way to escape it besides maybe moving to the north.
I can't believe this. I'm to make sure that the world knows the cruel faces here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sweetly, I need you to do a news report over the civil rights activists. What's their name? Du Bois in Washington?
Wow, sir, you really did just read my mind because I was just thinking about interviewing people who are fighting against racism.
Stop kissing my ass.
She was such a fool.
Get to work.
So, Mr. Du Bois, could you tell me a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Well, I'm the first African American to get a PhD, a Harvard PhD.
You are very respected, aren't you, Mr. Washington?
Yes, I am. Being the advisor on racial matters for President Taft also provides me with some prestige.
And your philosophy?
I believe that the change we need in our society can only be brought about through protest and poking the bear.
We should just accept segregation and discrimination. Instead of fighting a hopeless fight, we need to be hardworking and focus on proving ourselves to be worthy of political and economic rights.
What do you think is the best way to achieve these goals?
Pan-Africanism. All African Americans have common interests, so in order to obtain freedom, we need to rally together.
As a race, we need to be self-sufficient. That's how we will reach economic prosperity. Racial solidarity. That's what we need for our whole race.
To work together as one, we should develop our own economy of producers and consumers, all fighting together for justice and freedom.
We need to stick to vocational duties like farming, crafts, and industrial work. Through this, we will gain thrift and patience.
Screw patience. We need to rise up through arts and literature. You know what I say, the talented 10.
What?
1 in 10 black men will become leaders in all fields, not just upon ones.
What do you think of Du Bois?
Oh, he's just too much. He needs to calm down with the whole fighting back thing. We should just come to terms with segregation and the fact that we cannot vote, as long as we have progress in our education, economics, and justice in court.
Washington, he's got it all wrong. We need social rights before we can get educational, economic, or judicial rights. What he believes will just perpetuate our oppression.
Hey, how's the project going?
Great, life-changing actually.
How's the interview of those damn activists?
I really liked what Du Bois said. His ways of thinking could really bring about change. Washington isn't really ready to fight. He's just willing to sit around and wait.
Are you kidding me? Du Bois is way too radical, dude. Nobody's ever gonna go along with him and what he says.
But this issue is just way too important that we cannot just sit around and wait for things to happen. Anyways, I'm done.
You think you're done? You still need to add the political cartoon and the informational chart or something.
Well, where am I gonna get those?
Gosh, do I have to do everything for you? You're lucky I carry around primary source documents in my pocket.
Great, we can just put these in the paper.
Fool, you won't get points for the newspaper unless you analyze it.
Well, let me apply my newly acquired prior knowledge. Wow, this is an interesting political cartoon. It shows how the Statue of Liberty, which is meant to symbolize liberty and justice for all, has been turned into a hanging place for African Americans. This conveys the idea that Jim Crow laws go against the very foundations of our country.
That's the way it should be.
Oh, shut up. I'm working here. Even after the continuous work of people like Washington and Du Bois to make the life of African Americans easier, these high numbers show they and their white supporters are being violently persecuted. Shut up.
Hey,
Done.
you can't.
Now get this on the press so we can change this country through journalism.